Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter number 22, verse number 112. We will continue from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamam Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Verse number 112. Ya Esham Purusham Sakshad Atma Prabhavam Ishwaram Na Bhajanti Avjananti Sthanad Bhrashtaha Patanti Adaha. If one simply maintains an official position in the four varnas and ashrams but does not worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he falls down from his puffed up position into a hellish condition. Verse number 113. Smartavya yaha satatam Vishnur vismartavyo na jatuchit sarve vidhi nishedaha syur etayor eva kinkaraha. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. So I'll repeat the translation again of the verse. It says Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. So all the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. We have to always remember Lord and never forget the Lord at any time. Lord Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This verse is a quotation from the Padma Puran. There are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle. That is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. This is possible when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, one must strictly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours daily. One may have other duties to perform under the direction of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. And yes, we know, Prabhupada has told us to chant minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. In our Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says we have recommended that the neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary if one wants to remember Krishna and not forget him. Of all the regulative principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. One may sell books or enlist life members or render some other service, but these duties are not ordinary duties. These duties serve as an impetus for remembering Krishna. When one goes with Sankirtan party or sells books, he naturally remembers that he is going to sell Krishna's books. In this way, he is remembering Krishna. When one goes to enlist life member, he talks about Krishna and thereby remembers him. Smartavya satatam Vishnur vismartavyo na jatuchit. The conclusion is that one must act in such a way that he will always remember Krishna, and one must refrain from doing things that make him forget Krishna. These two principles form the basic background of Krishna consciousness. Verse number 114. Vividhanga sadhana bhaktir bahut vistar sankshepe kahiye kichu sadhanang sar. I shall say something about the various practices of devotional service, which is expanded in so many ways. I wish to speak briefly of the essential practices. Verse 115. Guru padashre diksha gurur sevana sad dharma shiksha pricha sadhu marganu gamana. On the path of regulative devotional service, one must observe the following items. First, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master. Secondly, one must accept initiation from him. Third, one must serve him. Fourth, one must receive instructions from the spiritual master and make inquiries in order to learn devotional service. Fifth, one must follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas and follow the directions given by the spiritual master. Verse number 116. Krishna Pritye Bhog Tyag Krishna Tirthe Vas Yavan Nirvaha Pratigraha Ekadashi Upavas. The next steps are as follows. Number 6, one should be prepared to give up everything for Krishna's satisfaction, and one should also accept everything for Krishna's satisfaction. Number 7, one must live in a place where Krishna is present, a city like Vrindavan or Mathura or a Krishna temple. Number 8, one should acquire a livelihood that is just sufficient to keep body and soul together. And lastly, number 9, one must fast on the Ekadashi day. Verse 117. Dhatri Ashwath Go Vipra Vaishnav Pujan Seva Namaparadhadi Dure Visarjan. And the last among that list which we have been reading is number 10. One should always worship Dhatri trees, banyan trees, cows, brahmans and devotees of Lord Vishnu. Number 11. One should avoid offenses against devotional service and the holy name. Purport: there are 10 items in the beginning of devotional service up to the point of worshipping the Dhatri trees, banyan trees, cows, brahmans and devotees of Lord Vishnu. The 11th item is to avoid offenses when rendering devotional service and chanting the holy names. Verse 118. Avaishnav Sangatyag Bahu Shishya Na Kariba Bahu Grantha Kalabhyas Vyakhyan Varjiba. The 12th item is to give up the company of non-devotees. 13th, one should not accept an unlimited number of disciples. 14, one should not partially study many scriptures just to be able to give references and expand explanations. Purport: accepting an unlimited number of devotees or disciples is very risky for one who is not a preacher. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a preacher has to accept many disciples to expand the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is risky because when a spiritual master accepts a disciple, he naturally accepts the disciple's sinful activities and their reactions. Unless he is very powerful, he cannot assimilate all the sinful reactions of his disciples and has to suffer the consequences. Therefore, one is generally forbidden to accept many disciples. One should not partially study a book just to pose oneself as a great scholar by being able to refer to scriptures. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have therefore limited our study to the Vedic literatures, to the Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These 4 works are sufficient for preaching purposes. They are adequate for the understanding of this philosophy and the spreading of missionary activities all over the world. If one studies a particular book, he must do so thoroughly. That is the principle. By thoroughly studying a limited number of books, one can understand the philosophy. Verse 119. Hani labhe sama shokadira vasha na haiba anya deva anya shastra nindana kariba. And the 15th is the devotee should treat loss and gain equally. 16th, the devotee should not be overwhelmed by lamentation. 17th, the devotee should not worship demigods nor should he disrespect them. Similarly, the devotee should not study or criticize other scriptures. Verse 120. Vishnu Vaishnav Ninda Gramya Varta Nashuniba Prani Matre Mano Vakye Udvega Na Diba. And 18th is that devotee should not hear Lord Vishnu or his devotees blasphemed. Number 19, the devotee should avoid reading or hearing newspapers or mundane books that contain stories of love affairs between men and women or subjects palatable to the senses. 20th is neither by mind or words should the devotee cause anxiety to any living entity, regardless of how insignificant he may be. Purport: the first 10 items are do's and the second 10 items are the don'ts. Thus, the first 10 items give direct action and the second 10 items give indirect action. Verse 121. Shravana Kirtan Smarana Pujan Vandana Paricharya Dasya Sakhya Atmanivedana. After one is established in devotional service, the positive actions are hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, serving, accepting servitorship, becoming a friend, and surrendering fully. Verse 122. Agre nritya gita vichnapati dandavam nati abhyuthana anuvrajya tirthagrihe gati. One should also, 10th is dance before the deity, 11th sing before the deity, 12th open one's mind to the deity. That is so nice, isn't it? Open one's mind to the deity. 13th offer obeisances to the deity. 14th stand up before the deity and the spiritual master just to show them respect. 15th follow the deity or the spiritual master. And 16th visit different places of pilgrimage or go see the deity in the temple. Verse 123. Parikramas Patha Japa Sankirtana Dhupa Malya Gandha Mahaprasad Bhojana. One should, 17th is to circumambulate the temple, do the parikrama. 18th recite various prayers. 19th chant softly. 20th chant congregationally, that is to do the kirtan. And we recently in Birmingham had the 24-hour kirtan, which was the 25th 24-hour kirtan here. 21st item is smell the incense and flower garlands offered to the deity, and 22nd is eat the remnants or the prasad of food offered to the deity. So we offer the bhoga and that becomes the remnant or the prasad which we honor. Or like in Hindi we say, हमको उस भोगा को ऑफर करके फिर उसको भोगा को भगवान को पवाने के बाद खुद पाना चाहिए. Verse number 124. आर्त्रिक महोत्सव श्रीमूर्ति दर्शन निज प्रिय दान ध्यान तदिया सेवन. One should, number 23 is attend arati and festivals. 24 see the deity. 25 present what is very dear to oneself what is very dear to oneself to the deities. 26 meditate on the deity. 27 and up to 30 number are serve those related to the Lord. Verse number 125. Tadiya tulasi Vaishnav Mathura Bhagavata Ai Charira Seva Haya Krishnera Abhimata. Tadya means the Tulasi leaves the devotees of Krishna, the birthplace of Krishna, that is Mathura, and the Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is very eager to see his devotees serve Tulasi, Vaishnavas, Mathura, and Bhagavatam. Purport after item 26, that is meditation. The 27th is to serve Tulasi, the 28th is to serve the Vaishnavas, the 29th is to serve the live in Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, and 30th is to read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. Verse 126. Krishnarthe akhila cheshta tat kripa valokana janma dinadi mahotsav lena bhakta gana. 31st is one should perform all endeavors for Krishna. 32nd one should look forward to his mercy. 33rd one should partake of various ceremonies with the devotees. Ceremonies like Lord Krishna's birthday or Ramchandra's birthday, that is the Janmashtami and the Ramnavami festivals. Verse 127. Sarvatha Sharanapatti Kartikadi Vrata Chatuh Shashti Anga A Chatur Shashti Anga A Parama Mahatva. 34th is that one should surrender to Krishna in all respects. 35th, one should observe particular vows like Kartik Vrata. These are some of the 64 important items of devotional service. Verse 128. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavad Shravana Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana. One should associate with devotees, chant the holy name of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, recite at Mathura, and worship the deity with faith and veneration. Verse 129. Sakala sadhana shrestha ai pancha anga Krishna prema janmaya ai panchera alpasanga. These 5 limbs of devotional service are the best of all. Even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love of Krishna. So, these are the angas of the bhakti, the limbs of the bhakti, the various activities which we do for Krishna, they become our devotional service, they become our bhakti. So I'll repeat the translation. These 5 limbs of devotional service are the best of all. Even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love for Krishna. Purport Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that there are 35 items up to the point of observing special vows in the month of Kartik. To these 35 items, another 4 are added, namely marking tilak on different parts of the bodies. We do that every morning after the shower, which is on the 12 parts of our body, which gives us protection, and we also recite the different names corresponding to the tilaks on different parts. Writing the names of the Lord all over the body, accepting the deity's garland, and accepting Charnamrit, these 4 items are understood to be included by Kaviraj Goswami within Archana, worship of the deity. Although these items are not mentioned here, they are to be added to the previous 35 items, thus the total number becomes 39. To these 39 should be added 5 others: association with devotees chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, residing in Mathura, the birthplace of Krishna, and worshipping the deity with great respect and veneration. The 39 items plus these 5 items come to a total of 44. If we add the previous 20 items to these 44, the total items numbers become 64. The 5 items mentioned above repeat previously mentioned items. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami states, Anganam Panchakasyasya Purva Vilikhitasya Cha Nikhil Shrestya Bodhaya Punar Api Atra Sham Sanam. The glorification of these 5 items, association with devotees, chanting the holy name, and so on, is to make known the complete superiority of these 5 practices of devotional service. The 64 items of devotional service include all the activities of the body, mind, and senses. Thus, the 64 items engage one in devotional service in all respects. So we have to engage our body, mind, and our senses. Then we'll, in Krishna's bhakti, then we can elevate ourselves. Verse number 130, Shraddha Visheshatah Pritihi Shri Murtir Angrihi Sevane. With love and full faith, one should worship the lotus feet of the deity. Purport: this verse and the following 2 verses are found in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.2. Verses 90 to 92. Verse 131, Srimad Bhagavatarthanam Aswado Rasikay Saha Sajati Yashaye Snigdhe Sadhau Sangah Swato Vare. One should taste the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees, and one should associate with the devotees who are more advanced than oneself and who are endowed with a similar type of affection for the Lord. Purport: the words Sajatiyasya Snigdhe Sadhau Sangha Swato Vare are very important. One should not associate with professional Bhagavatam reciters. A professional Bhagavatam reciter is one who is not in the disciplic succession, or one who has no taste for bhakti yoga simply on the strength of grammatical knowledge and word jugglery. Professional reciters maintain their bodies and their desires for sense gratification by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. One should also avoid those who are averse to Lord Vishnu and his devotees, those who are Mayavadis, those who offend the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, those who simply dress as Vaishnavas or so-called Goswamis, and those who make a business by selling Vedic mantras and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to maintain their families. One should not try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam from such materialistic people according to the Vedic injunctions. Yasya deve para bhakti, the Srimad Bhagavatam can be recited only by one who has unflinching faith in the lotus feet of Krishna and his devotee, the spiritual master. One should try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam from the spiritual master. The Vedic injunction states, Bhaktya Bhagavatam Grahyam na Buddhya na cha Tikaya. One has to understand Srimad Bhagavatam through the process of devotional service and by hearing the recitation of pure devotee. These are the injunctions of the Vedic literature, Shruti and Smriti. Those who are not in the disciplic succession and who are not pure devotees cannot understand the real mysterious objectives of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. Verse 132. Nama Sankirtanam Shriman Mathura Mandale Sthitihi. One should congregationally chant the holy name of the Lord and reside in Vrindavan. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Shri Gaura Mandala Bhumi Yeba Jane Chintamani Tar Haya Vrajabhumi Vasa. One who understands the transcendental nature of Navadvip and its surrounding area where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enacted his pastimes resides always in Vrindavan. Similarly, living in Jagannath Puri is as good as living in Vrindavan. The conclusion is that Navadvip Dham, Jagannath Puri Dham, and Vrindavan Dham are identical. However, if one goes to Mathura Mandal Bhumi for sense gratification or to make a living, he commits an offense and is condemned. Whoever does so must be penalized in the next life by becoming a hog or a monkey in Vrindavan Dham. After taking such a body, the offender is liberated in the next life. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that residing in Vrindavan with a view to enjoy sense gratification surely leads to a so-called devotee to a lower species. Verse 133. Duruhad bhuta virya asmin shraddha dure stu panchake yatra swa alpo api sambandha shadadhyam bhava jamane. The power of these five principles is very wonderful and difficult to understand. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can awaken his dormant love of Krishna simply by being a little connected with them. Sorry. Purport. This verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.238. Moving on to verse number 134. Ek ang sadhe keha sadhe bahu ang nishtha haile upajaya premera tarang. When one is firmly fixed in devotional service, whether he executes one or many processes of devotional service, the waves of love of Godhead will awaken. Purport. The 9 processes of devotional service are Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So we've been advised in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that we should see the text 121 of this chapter. Now moving on to verse number 135. Ek ange siddhi paila bahu bhakta gana ambarish adi bhaktira bahu anga sadhana. Verse 135. Ek ange siddhi paila bahu bhakta gana ambarish adi bhaktira bahu. Okay. Ek ange siddhi paila bahu bhakta ganas ambrishadi bhaktira bahu anga sadhana. There are many devotees who execute only one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Nonetheless, they get into ultimate success. Devotees like Maharaj Ambrish execute all 9 items and they also get ultimate success. Verse 136. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshid Abhavad अभवद व्यासाखे के कीर्तने प्रहलाद स्मरणे अंगरी. Where was I? प्रहलाद स्मरणे तद अंगरी वचने लक्ष्मी पृथु पूजने अक्रूरस्य त्व अभिवन्दने दास्ये तथा. Right, this seems like two shlokas together. It's actually one. Akrurasattu abhivandane kapipatirudasye iha sakhe Arjuna sarva swatma nivedana balir adbhut Krishna patir esham para. Okay, moving on to translation. Maharaj Parikshit attained the highest perfection, sheltered at Lord Krishna's lotus feet simply by hearing about Lord Vishnu. Shukadev Goswami attained perfection. Right, Maharaj Parikshit attained the highest perfection, sheltered at Lord Krishna's lotus feet simply by hearing about Lord Vishnu. Shukadev Goswami attained perfection by simply reciting Bhagavatam. Right. Shukadev Goswami attained perfection simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj attained perfection by simply remembering the Lord. The goddess of fortune attained perfection by massaging the transcendental legs of Mahavishnu. Maharaj Prithu attained perfection by worshipping to the Lord. And right. The goddess of fortune attained perfection by massaging the transcendental legs of Mahavishnu. Maharaj Prithu attained perfection by worshipping the deity, and Akrura attained perfection by offering praise unto the Lord. Rajarangi, that is Hanumanji, attained perfection by rendering service to Lord Ramchandra, and Arjuna attained perfection simply by being Krishna's friend. Bali Maharaj attained perfection by dedicating everything to the lotus feet of the Lord. But this was based in the Bali. Okay, Bali Maharaj attained perfection by dedicating everything to the lotus feet of Lord. But this verse is in the Padyavali number 53 and Bhakti Samasindhu 1.2.253. But this verse appears in Padyavali 53 and Bhakti Samasindhu 1.2.365. Verses 137 to 39. So 3 verses are together. Let's begin. Satve Manah Krishna Padaravindayor Vachamisi Vaikuntha Kun. Okay, Save Manah Krishna Padaravindayor Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunan Varanaye Karo Harir Mandir Majan. Karuna Karo Harir Mandir Marjad Sutim Okay, let's move it around. Okay, Vaikuntha Guna Varane Karo Harir Mandir Marjanadishu Shrutim Chakrachite Satakatore Mukund Lingale Dashine Drisho Tatvatya Ragahu. Okay. Sami Mansa Krishna Patavindur Vachamsi Vaikuntha Guna Nuvaranane Karo Harir Mandir Marjanadishu Shrutim Chakrachita Satkathodaya Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drisho Tadvritya Gatra Sparshe Anga Sangamam Grihanam Cha Tatpada Soja Shrimati Tulsiya Sanam Tad Apite. Last one is Padau Hare Kshetra Padana Padana Sarpane Hiro Rikshikesh Pada Bhavandane Mithun Chadasye Natu Dasye Naka Natu Kama Kamaya Yathotma Ashola Ashloka Kama Pala Hare Kshetra Padana Sarpane Shiro Rishikesha Pada Bhivandane Kamam Chadasye Natu Kama Kamayaya Yathottama Shloka Janashrayati. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, his words describing the spiritual world and the supreme personality of Godhead, his hands cleansing and washing the Lord's temple, his ears in hearing topics about the Supreme Lord, his eyes in seeing the deity of Lord Krishna in the temple, his body in embracing Vaishnavas or touching the lotus feet, his nostril in smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaves offered to Krishna's lotus feet, his tongue in tasting food offered to Krishna, his legs in going to places to pilgrimage like Vrindavan and Mathura or to the Lord's temple, his head in touching the lotus feet of the Lord and offering him obeisances, and his desires in serving the Lord faithfully. In this way, Maharaj Ambarish engaged his senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he awakened his dormant loving propensity for the Lord's service. Purport: this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter, verses number 18 to 20. Verse number 140. Kama Tyaji Krishna Bhaje Shastra Ajna Mani Devarishi Pitra Dikera Kabhu Nahe Rini. If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages in the transcendental loving service of Krishna as enjoined in the revealed scriptures, he is never indebted to the demigods, sages, or forefathers. Purports: after birth, every man is indebted in so many ways. He is indebted to the demigods for the supplying necessities like air, light, and water. When one takes advantage of the Vedic literature, one becomes indebted to great sages like Vyasadeva, Narad, Deval, and Asita. When one takes birth in a particular family, he becomes indebted to his forefathers. We are even indebted to common living entities like cows from whom we take milk. Because we accept service from so many animals, we become indebted. However, if one is completely engaged in the Lord's devotional service, he is absolved of all debts. This is confirmed in the following verse quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41. Verse 141. Devarishi Bhutat Nrinam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rini Rajan Sarvatmana Yahas Sharanyam Kato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. Purpose, it is said, Adhyapanam Brahma Yajna Pitri Yajnastu Tarpanam Homo Daivo Balir Bhavto Nri Yajno Tithi Pujanam. By offering oblations with ghee, one satisfies the demigods. By studying the Vedas, one performs Brahma Yajna, which satisfies the great sages. Offering libations of water before one's forefather is called Pitru Yajna. By offering tribute, one performs Bhuta Yajna. By properly receiving guests, one performs Nri Yajna. These are the 5 yajnas that liquidate the 5 kinds of indebtedness. Indebtedness to the demigods, great sages, forefathers, living entities, and common men. Therefore, one has to perform these 5 kinds of yajnas, but when one takes to the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, one does not have to perform any other yajna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni made a statement about the systematic performance of Bhagavad Dharma in connection with the statements previously made by the 9 Yogendras before Maharaj Nimi. The sage Karbhajana Rishi explained the 4 incarnations of the 4 yugas, and at the end in this text, which is 141, he explained the position of Krishna's pure devotee and how he is absolved of all debts. Verse 142, Vidhi dharma chadi bhaje Krishnera charana nishidha papachare tar kabhu nahe mana. Although the pure devotee does not follow all the regulative principles of varnashrama, he worships the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, he naturally has no tendency to commit sin. But the varnashram institution is planned in such a way that one will not commit sinful activities. Material existence continues due to sinful activity. When one acts sinfully in this life, he gets a suitable body for the next life. When one acts sinfully, he takes on another material body. In this way, one is continuously under the influence of material nature. Purusha prakriti stho hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasango se sad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. This is from Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 13, verse number 22. Due to our association with the modes of material nature, we get different types of bodies, good and bad. One cannot be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, known as transmigration of the soul, unless one is completely freed from all sinful activities. The best process, therefore, is to take to Krishna consciousness. One cannot take to Krishna consciousness without being freed from all sinful activities. Naturally, one who is very serious about Krishna consciousness is freed from all sinful activities. Consequently, a devotee is never inclined to commit sins. If one is pressured by the law or obligations to give up sinful activity, one cannot do so. However, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, he can very easily give up all sinful activity. This is confirmed herein. Verse 142, Ajnane vahaya yadi pap upasthita Krishna Tandre Shuddha Kare Na Karaya Prashchita. Prashchita is atonement, as you know. If, however, a devotee accidentally becomes involved in a sinful activity, Krishna purifies him. He does not have to undergo the regulative form of atonement. Purport: Krishna purifies from within as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within the heart. This is described in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.42. So Krishna within the heart is our Chaitya Guru. Verse 144, Swapad Moolam Bhajatah Priyasya Tyaktanya Bhavasya Harih Pareshah Vikarma Yach Chot Patitam Kathanchit Dhunoti Sarvam Riddhi Sannivishtaha. One who has given up everything and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to Krishna. If he is involved in some sinful activity by accident, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, removes his sins without difficulty. Verse 145, Jnana Vairagyadi Bhaktir Kabhu Nahe Ang Ahimsa Yama Niyamadi Bhule Krishna Bhakta Sang. The path of speculative knowledge and renunciation is not essential for devotional service. Indeed, good qualities such as non-violence and control of the mind and senses automatically accompany a devotee of Lord Krishna. Purport: sometimes a neophyte devotee or ordinary person thinks highly of speculative knowledge, austerity, penances, and renunciation, thinking them the only path of advancement in devotional service. Actually, this is not a fact. The path of knowledge, mystic yoga, and renunciation has nothing to do with the pure soul. When one is temporarily in the material world, such processes may help a little, but they are not necessary for a pure devotee of Krishna. In the material world, such activities end in material enjoyment or merging into effulgence of the Supreme. They have nothing to do with the eternal loving service of the Lord. If one abandons speculative knowledge and simply engages in devotional service, he has attained his perfection. The devotee has no need for speculative knowledge, pious activity, or mystic yoga. All these are automatically present when one renders the Lord's transcendental loving service. Verse 146, Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vai mad atmanah na jnanam na cha vairagyam prayah shreyo bhaved iha. For one who is fully engaged in my devotional service, whose mind is fixed on me in Bhakti Yoga, the path of speculative knowledge and dry renunciation is not very beneficial. Purport: the path of devotional service is always independent of other activity. The path of speculative knowledge and mystic yoga may be a little beneficial in the beginning, but it cannot be considered part of devotional service. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.31 was spoken by Lord Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhava before his departure from this material world. These are important instructions given directly by Lord Krishna. Sri Uddhava asked the Lord about the two kinds of instructions given in the Vedas. One instruction is called Pravritti Marga and the other is called the Nivritti Marg. These are directions for enjoying the material world according to the regulative principles and then giving up the material world for higher spiritual understanding. Sometimes one does not know whether to practice speculative knowledge and mystic yoga for advancement in spiritual knowledge. Krishna explains to Uddhava that the mechanical process of speculative knowledge and yoga is not necessary for advancing in devotional service. Devotional service is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material things. It is awakened by the hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Because devotional service is always transcendental, it has nothing to do with the material activity. Verse 147, Ete nahi adbhuta vyadha tava himsaddayo gunaha hari bhaktau pravritta ye nate syuh paratapinaha. I should have said Ete. I thought that was a Bengali verse. I said Ete. Translation goes like this: O hunter, good qualities like non-violence which you have developed are not very astonishing, for those who are engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy. Purport: this is a quotation from the Skanda Puran. It was spoken by Narad Muni to the reformed hunter Mrigari. Verse 148, Vaidhi Bhakti Sadhanera Kahilun Vivarana Raganuga Bhaktira Lakshana Shuna Sanatana. My dear Sanatan, I have now in detail described devotional service according to the regulative principles. Now hear from me about spontaneous devotional service and its characteristics. So up to now, Lord has described the Vaidhi Bhakti to Sanatan Goswami, and from now, from verse number 149, it will be the Ragatmika Bhakti. So we'll continue our reading next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.